Okay, we're live. Hey guys. So I'm here with Luis, David, and myself, and we're going to get back to building the sealed bid auction contract that we were previously working on. So David missed the last one, but David is React is his first language. Luis is a Vue developer at first, but can can use React obviously. But so we have David here to sort of help us speed along some of the React stuff. Um, and in addition, last time we spent a good amount of time going over some theory and talking about installing the CLI and getting the CLI and how to interact with the CLI. And we were very explanatory about all that. I think that we're going to try and just sort of move along and just build and try and talk as we're building so that we can get a little bit more done. But hopefully, you learn just as much. And if things move too quickly, you can always, we're recording these things and you can go back and then ask us questions, obviously, either in the chat during the call, during this, or after the fact. So, yeah, with that, Luis, do you want to take over, share your screen, and we'll go?
Sure.
Okay, so okay, so we can all wave goodbye because I'm going to put away these. I realized I learned how to put away uh, the images of us so that the whole screen is visible.
Okay. All right. Hey again, guys. So as Sandy mentioned in this stream, we're gonna focus a little bit more on build the application itself. This is what we have so far. We have a connect button that help us bootstrap the application, and also we have the we are listing the auctions that we created using the CLI and showing some detail about the auction itself. Um, Very simple. We're going to actually move on and create a page, a separated page to show all the all the details for an auction. But for now, I think what we want to do is being able to um, get all the tokens described on the glossary page on the docs. So let's go to docs.griptape.js.com. And under hackathon, and then under glossary, you'll see that we have the list of all the different tokens that we can use in the application. So all of them are SNP 20s, and all of them we have assets for all of them that I'm going to show in a moment, and also we're going to add them here so you can download them. So what we want to do in this case is to create a way to see all the balances for all the different for all those tokens, right? So maybe we want to do some sort of list element or a way to show all the different tokens, its balances, and maybe an image of each token. So that's what we're going to do right now. So this for this particular
Luis, in our Svelte demo, we did this, but we didn't really have it so that it would be application wide, let's say. Like, I'm wondering if this shouldn't be a component that sort of lives almost in like a layout, like so that it's accessible from every page. What do you think?
yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, I
cool.
think it will be a component, a reusable component. So what I'm going to do right now is just to maybe remove the code for the auction description, just to start with a more just to clean up a little bit the current the application that we have already. So we don't want to have the auction info anymore on the page, because we're going to move that onto a new page. So I think for now we're just going to have the connect button and also the list for all the different auctions. So now let me clean this up a little bit.
Oh, Luis, could we add one thing before that? Sorry, I know I'm pulling an audible here. Just getting your secret balance. Just making your secret balance available so that people can see whether they're connected or not, you know?
Oh, okay.
I think that's pretty common. Every app you want that. So I think that would be pretty good to have.
Okay. Sounds good. Okay, let's start with that then. So in order to show our balance, I think what we want to do is we're going to create a component. So let's start adding a components folder. And for now, I think I'm going to follow let's do the component directly here. So I'm going to create a component for showing the balance. Okay. So in this case, I think I'm going to call it secret balance app. Yes. So this component, what we'll do is just to show your native, the secret balance, maybe in some sort of very simple, in a simple way right now, but we are going to then refactor this code to be able to get the balance from a store. So we can start having a more robust application. For now, just to keep things simple, I'm going to do some imports. There's a particular import that we're interested in this app, which is, let me just go back again. Get native coin balance. And we're going to create a new component. And we are going to just set a div here. So we're going to make it a div. So in this case, what we're going to show is a secret balance. So it may be the case that we want to maybe render the balance, the balance here, right? And then after that, is the denomination, in this case, secret. And then what we're going to do is to start using some hooks to bind to data to and render that data. So we're going to do the balance, set balance. We're going to structure the use state. From React. Yep. And then we are going to create a function that gets the native coin balance and then set that to the new state that we created. So I'm going to create a function called get balance. which then I'm going to get the response, call the function, right? For now, we're going to bring the result or the response from that call so you guys can see how that looks. And we're going to use use effect to, once a component gets mounted, call this function that will get the balance.
Should this only be called on Kepler being available?
Yes, that's correct. So we are going to get the on account available.
I don't know if we went over that last time. Maybe we can introduce that. We'll do it now, and then after we get this working, we can go back and introduce that. The events API.
Yeah. So let me, guys. I'm going to do a new import, which is called on account available. I'm going to explain that in a bit. Let me just, before I continue, okay, I need to import a new version of Griptape. So for all of you guys, we haven't yet made the official. Well, it is already made, the official publish. We haven't done the announcement or published the announcement, but if you go to the npm registry, you'll see that we have a new version for Griptape, which is the 0.9.0 version. You can go ahead directly and get that for your application. It has some minor fixes and some improvements to certain APIs that we went over on the office hours. So I don't know if we recorded the office hours, but for
I haven't published that yet.
Okay,
so we're going to. I got it in like 5 little tiny segments because I kept losing my. Anyway, yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, just explain it. Assume we don't have
it. Okay. Yeah. No worries. So okay. So we're going to, well, in case that we don't have the office hours all recorded, I think that we're going to. You can see the release notes on GitHub also. Those are already published as well. I think the only thing for us is actually making the announcement. Everything else is ready. Also, the docs are ready. So, so in this new version, well, you can just go ahead and grab the new version. In order to do that, if you're using Yarn, you can do Yarn add stake or die Griptape.js at 0.9.0. If you're using npm, instead of yarn add, do npm install, and that's it. So let's wait for this to complete. And just for you guys to know, one of the updates that we did is related to some of the new APIs that we are going to use in this stream. So if you want to follow along, I strongly recommend to get this new version. Okay, now that I have the new version of Griptape installed, I'm going I'm going back to the app and start explaining a little bit about what is this new API that we're using and how does it work. For now, let's go ahead and see if this works. So make sure, guys, that here we go. And let me get the secret balance component. Here. All right. So if we go back to the console, let me actually. There we go. I think that's readable. So you'll see that I'm console logging the result from the get native coin balance function. So as you can see, what I'm getting is, in this case, the amount of secret that I have in this application. So if we go and check, so you can see this is the amount that I have on Pulsar. So let me just grab that, bind it to the balance state, and then render it, so we can explain how the on account available API works. So in this case, I'm just going to do set balance response. And here we're going to okay. And I think I'm going to set the balance, put the balance right before. So okay. Obviously, we're showing the raw number without adding the decimals. I'm gonna explain how to do that in a moment. But first of all, let's go back and see how the secret balance component works. So as you can see, first we have the state. So we want to bind some and render some state into our component. We have a function get balance that uses the get native coin balance, which essentially does that, right? It gets the balance in this case for secret. And as a response, you get a string that contains the balance that you have currently in your wallet. The next thing that we do is to use a use effect hook, so we can call a function when the component is mounted. So make sure to pass the empty array. Make sure you pass an empty array as the last argument of the use effect, so you get that behavior. And then finally, we are calling the get balance on the use effect. But you can see that we're actually wrapping the get balance call on another function called on account available. And the unaccount available belongs to a module of Griptape called um, the events module or the events API. So the events API is a particular sets of APIs that helps you to handle a specific cases or a specific situations in your application. So we define an event uh, as something that can occur or that happens at any point in time, right? Um, and the emission of these events are being triggered or are being handled by Griptape. So you commonly are not going to emit your own events. Rather, there's a set of functions that you're going to use to listen to those events, and Griptape is taking care of actually calling those events whenever it makes sense or whenever that event happened. So in this case, as you know, when we start the application and we grip it, we are on a gripped state, which means that we can do queries to contracts, and basically we have everything that we need to start like having an application that connects to the blockchain. That's on a gripped state. But in the next state that you can go is bootstrap state, which obviously you need to call the bootstrap function to do that. Only at that point, when you bootstrap your application, uh, Kepler or the account provider gets enabled. So obviously you are not because you are letting the user to connect to your application or to bootstrap to your application. You don't know exactly when Kepler is going to be available and when you can start using the Kepler APIs to start interacting with your application, right? So for example, in case that you need your address to do something, well, you need Kepler enabled. In case you want to know how many secret you have in your wallet, uh, you need Kepler enabled. So for anything that you need Kepler, in this case, the which is also known as the account provider, um, you'll need to wait until the person's actually bootstrap the application. So what we're doing essentially is we're creating a callback based function that you can use to pass in a function to call it whenever the account is available. So on account available is the way to for Griptape to send an event that will occur when someone bootstraps the application, right? So in this case, when the application bootstraps or gets bootstrapped, the on account available callback function will be called, and then you can, for example, get the native coin balance. If we wanted to actually get the balance without waiting for the account to be available, let me show you what happens. So you can see like uh, that you're going to get an error because you don't have uh, Kepler enabled, so you can do that. In this case, you get an error about the address is not available, right? So being
Yeah,
that said,
Luis, could we set up one where well, two questions. Could we have it so when it's not available, it says connect to view balance, and then set us to a not connected state so people can see that?
uh, do you
Or did
mean
I
to?
interrupt you?
No. Do you mean to create a button to disconnect or something?
Well, no. I mean, in a state in which we haven't yet connected yet, right? The balance. What would we see right now? Like if you weren't connected and you had an account available, what would it show? It would just show secret with no balance, right?
Okay, you mean to handle the okay, yeah,
Yeah. Just handle that case, and then we can show you can see that when you connect, your balance will pop up. You know.
got it. Okay, so you're saying to handle the situation when you're not connected to show some sort of loading or unconnected state, disconnected state, or
Yeah,
something
just
like
like
that.
the person has just gotten there and they don't have it about and they haven't connected yet, and now they want to
Okay,
connect, and once they do, their balance will show up. Yeah.
okay, that's fine. Yeah, so so yeah, that's pretty much it. What it does, and also we're going to do that in a moment. But just to finish the explanation, basically, once you set the on account available, you can uh, well, this function will be called every time the account is available or the application gets bootstrapped. So one important part of this is that the on account available returns also another function. In this case, the function is for you to stop listening to that event. And you'll see that this becomes a problem when you mount and unmount or destroy components. So you want to make sure that you don't leave any callbacks to being called every time you unmount or mount a component, because you will create a memory leak. So we let the developer to take care of um, how to free those resources by returning a callback as well, another function for any event. And then in this case, when the component gets unmounted or destroyed, we just stop listening to that event. uh, Finally, one thing that you might wanna find that is really important is that any event, we call these event handlers, these functions. So any event handler will start with the on prefix. Uh, so it's a naming practice that we decided for all the different event handlers. So every time you see on, that is coming from a function that starts with on or that is prefixed with on, that comes from Griptape, that'll mean that is an event handler, and essentially will you will listen for events. Um, so yeah, this is how that works. So we're just going to do we're going to implement what Sandy was mentioning. So I think for um, maybe in this case, what we want to do is maybe put a button like show balance or something in case you're not you haven't bootstrapped the application or something like that. So let me conditionally put a button there. So uh, is connected and set is connected. I'm going to create a new state called is connected. I'm going to set that to false. And when you are connected, in this case, when the account is available, I'm going to set is connected to true. And then I'm going to use is connected to conditionally render either the balance or maybe a button. Actually, another thing that I would like to do is to set a loading state. And every time I do the request to get the balance, I'll switch between the loading state. Well, set the loading state to true and then set it to false after I complete uh, the promise. Okay, so now in case is, well, first of all, we're going to start by saying, okay, if we are loading, right? If is loading, then I'm going to, I don't know, set a say the div to load, whatever. Now, if in the case is not loading and is already connected, then we're going to show the bounds, right? And finally, we're going to, in the case that's not true, well, maybe we want to show a button that will bootstrap the application. So show bounds. Okay. And that's pretty much it. So bootstrap, boots. Okay. So let's see how that looks. Obviously, it gets the first state that we got is show bounds because we're going to be connected, but we haven't loaded that yet. So, but for now, I think it's fair enough. The next thing that we want to handle also is to have this number formatted, and I'm going to show you how to do that in a moment. But I just want to show you that if, in case we are not logged, we're not connected to Kepler. Well, let me now try to connect to Kepler. So you can see we have the connect and the show balance. So if we do click on show balance, Kepler will be enabled. And then after that, we're going to try to load. Well, it happened very quickly, but we're going to try to load the balance, and then we're showing the balance there. We're going to fix the issue about showing first button later. But for now,
Yeah, that's really good. I think I think any of like styling and stuff like that, making it look any better than this is probably we don't have to worry about. And I just wanted to. I think this is really good to just show people. It's a pretty common use thing that people are going to be doing. So.
yeah, totally. And then finally, the formatting. So in order to format, and this I'm going to use this on the wallet as well, on the component that shows all the different tokens. But we have an API called coin convert, and the coin convert is able to convert or not convert, but to format a number, which now that I think it might be the case that we change the name for this in the future. But what you need to know is that you can change it between having a number that gets formatted based on the number of decimals it has, and also having the ability to take a number and get the what we call the machine representation, or the integer associated with that number, with in order to be able to send it back to the blockchain, or to send it to a contract or whatever. Because as you know, contract, well, at least on the contracts world, you're not able to send numbers with decimal points or float numbers. So we send integers. And essentially what we're going to do right now is that we are getting we're getting the the native coin balance as the integer representation. Well, but what we want to show to the user in this case is the balance with decimal points, or the decimal representation for that number. So in order to do that, I'm going to rename this as result, and then I'm going to create a balance variable. I'm going to pass the result to the coin convert. After that, I'm going to pass the number of decimals, and then finally you pass you can pass like an enumeration or a literal that will represent, or that will choose whether you want to be human readable or machine readable. Being human, this decimal representation of the number, or machine if you want the integer version of the number. So in this case, we are getting a integer representation of the number, so we want to convert it to human. So we can render that to the user. And if we go again to our application, going to refresh. And as you can see, we're getting now this is the amount of secret that I have, and this is the number of decimal. In this case, secret has 6 decimals, so we're just putting the decimal separator there, which is the point. And yep, that's pretty much it. You can also.
What if you don't know? What if you don't know what you're gonna get? Like, let's say an API comes in and you might get it with decimals, and you might get the use secret amount. Will Coin Convert figure it out for you? Like if a user types in an amount, I guess what I mean is, do you have to type in what the Coin Convert is starting with? In this case, because I know in this case you're taking a result and you're saying there's 6 decimals and I want to get a human readable amount. If that result already had 6 decimals, would that be okay? Would it know what to do with it?
If you want to convert that to human again?
Well, if
Or
you don't know, so in the case of a result, you could get a result. Like, let's say result wasn't a result, but instead it was input, right? And someone was typing something in, right?
yeah, yeah.
And like you would tell them you should use one thing or the other, right? But like you might have, I don't know, I can't think of a use case right now, but yeah, I was just curious if result already has 6 decimals, will it end up making a number with 12 decimals?
I'll need to see the implementation of that
Okay.
function. I'm assuming that's the case, but yeah, I'll need to
Okay, so
do.
human expects a machine, and machine expects a human amount to
Yeah,
be passed in. Okay.
yeah, that's the current
Got it.
implementation. Yeah, yeah, and obviously is what it expects, but you know, um, uh, I don't think there's any validation that it stops you from doing the opposite. So
Hmm.
be careful using it. Okay, so that's pretty much it. There's another argument that you can pass, which is the number of fixed decimals that you want to get. So let's say that I want to get 2 rather than 6. Um, then you'll get that, right? For now, we don't want to use that. In this case, we want to see all the decimals for any of our tokens, so we can see all the complete balance or the full balance for each of them. But for now, this is good enough. And that's pretty much it. This is what I think is something really simple, but it has various use cases for that component. So now we're going to move on to the wallet component. Now that we have that we show the amount of secret that we have, and also something that I think would be cool to do, which is pretty simple, is to get the on account available here.
So is it the case that use effect returns a value at the point when the life cycle is complete?
Yeah, in this case, use effect you can return a function, and that function will be called when the component unmounts.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, which is equivalent or in view as the component is
Destroy.
destroyed.
Yeah, got it.
So yeah, and then I'm going to conditionally show the sorry if the format is not the best. I want to show the button in case that we're already connected. So
I think you have it backwards, no?
yeah. Oh no.
Yeah, you don't want to show it if you are connected. Yeah.
There we go. Okay. So that works, right? We are connected. And now we're going to move on to create the wallet component. So in this case, we're going to call it wallet. And what this component will do is to show all the different balances for all the different SNP20 tokens that we have. So we have secret, plan B, girl, blind, and the other ones, right? So there's different ways that you can handle this. What we're going to do is to have a JSON file that has all the information for all the tokens, and based on that, take that information and render all those tokens. You can have maybe a traditional database with a traditional REST API to handle that. You can either store the JSON on the cloud, so you fetch that when the application start. There's different ways that you can do it. For now, again, to keep things simple, we're just going to have a local JSON file, and based on that, show all the different tokens. In order to do that, I'm going to create a new folder called data. And inside that folder, I'm going to create a tokens.json file. I already have that file. So let me, I'm gonna show you guys how that file looks. So this is how the file looks. It has an array of objects in which each object has a name, a label, a symbol, an address, and the number of decimals the token has. And as you can see, we have all of the tokens there. So we can share this also this with you guys. Maybe I'm just going to remove the change the type from string to number for each token for the decimals field, so we can properly format. But besides that, I think that should be it. So let me copy this to our project. And let's use it into our wallet component. So let me just quickly get the component ready. And let's start. So now that we have the tokens JSON, we're going to import that JSON into our component. Now, as I mentioned, we might want to have some sort of list to show all the different tokens. So I'm going to have maybe a div for each of them, and also have the thing. For now, we're just going to put the name of the token here, and maybe after the balance. I don't know why it's not working. So here is going to be the name. Here we're going to have the balance, and we're going to iterate that through. So let's go ahead and get the tokens. Actually, let's have a function that will return each of the tokens. Each of these elements already formatted. So there are tokens. This will take the tokens .json file. We're gonna map and for each of the tokens, we're going to take this and bring in in this case, the name. The name of the collection. And we're going to render the tokens. So let's go back to our app. Refresh. Oh, obviously I need to get that into our app component. Now, I think I'm going to render this here. Render tokens. Okay. So as we can see, we have all the names, all the symbols for all the different tokens, right? And well, we want to show the balance here for each of them. So this is where things gets a little bit interesting, because first of all, we need to get all the different contract lines required to call the get balance query on each of them. So that's one problem that we have. Now, the next problem is not only we need to create each of those contract lines, but we need to find a way to get each of the balances and show them properly on the, rendering them properly on the UI for each token. And we want also to call them, all of them, like in one single promise, let's say, or we want to have the ability to call of the get balances queries, not at the same time, but we want to do it almost to get all the balances before we show them to the UI, because we need to call all of them. We don't want to call them separately or something like that. And we need to call them only if we have a viewing key available, because we don't want to call the balance query, the get balance query on these contracts if we don't have a viewing key yet. So we need to go through these problems one by one to properly solve them. But in this case, I think the first thing that we need to do is, now that we have everything ready to show the balance, we need to prepare how are we going to create these contract clients. So the first thing that you need to know is that in order to call those SNP20s queries, the get balance query on those SNP20s, we need to have the contract client already already created, and for that we need a definition. So one way that you can solve this problem is you creating the contract definition for the get balance query, right? And we can go to the contracts folder and create a secret contract definition, and we'll be ready to go, right? Griptape has one of its features is that, or one of the features of the contracts API is that because it's very easy to build the contract definitions, you can have like built-in definitions and you can reuse them whatever you want, right? So because SNP20s and in any SNP actually, not only the SNP20s, but any SNP specification are standards, or basically it's a standardized version of how a contract should look, which messages and which queries are part of that contract. We built in the definitions for those, so you can use them directly without you to write them. So in this case, you can import from Griptape the SNP20 definition, and that's all you need, so you can start interacting with the SNP20s. So in case that you want to create a contract client that has this SNP20, you don't need to write the definition yourself. So now that we have the SNP20 definition, we need the create contract function too, to create the contract client. Also for this particular release, what we did was to create a function called create contract client, which basically does exactly the same as a create contract. It just we just rename it or create another method that does exactly the same as the other one, because we think that this particular function has more meaning about what you're essentially doing when doing the create contract. So we're going to start using the create contract client function. Again, it's the same as create contract, and maybe in a future release, we're going to remove totally the create contract function. But for now, you have both create contract and create contract client available. Now, once we have the create contract client imported, we are basically ready to create the contract clients for all the different SNP20 tokens that we have, and then try to get the balances for all of those. So the first thing that we need to do is to maybe create the contract clients for all the SNP20s. So I'm going to create a new function called init contracts, which for each of the tokens in the JSON, we're going to create a contract client. Again, what we need is an ID for each of these contracts. In this case, I'm going to use the symbol. We need the address. And finally, we need the definition, which in this case is a SNP20 definition. I think it's to keep things simple. Into the structure, the symbol and the address. There we go. So
and Luis, just to remind people, you're not setting that to anything. You're not setting an array of those or anything like that. And the reason is because why? Because it can go to the registry.
Yep, that's correct. So so we're not like getting the result for each create contract client, because all of them are get registered or get added to the contract registry. So yeah. Now we want to use the use effect again to, when the component gets mounted, we get all the different, we initialize the contracts, right? Now at this point, when the component gets mounted, we're going to add to the registry all the contract clients for all the different SNP20s defined on the tokens.json file. All of them are going to be based on the SNP20 definition. Therefore, we're going to have the get balance query available for us to use. Now that we initialize the contracts, we can go to our application. Nothing will change. Well, we have an error there for add the key for each Yep, and I'm just going to remove the piece. Okay, so at this point we have all the different tokens already in the contract registry. So now we need to get the balances, or call the get balance query for each of them. So now I'm going to create a function called get balances. And what this essentially will do is it will call for each of the tokens all the get balance query, and we're going to find a way to get all those balances and render them here, right? So first of all, we need to for each token, we need to call the get query, the get balance query, right? So let's do tokens.map and explain why I'm doing this. So for each item in this array, what we're going to do is to call first get the contract with the ref contract. So we need to import ref contract from Griptape, and now we now have a reference to the contract. So we can now call the get balance method. So now what I'm going to do is to return contract dot get balance.
Is there a reason, Luis, why you're using the address and not the ID to access the ref? Does it not matter?
The ref contract can accept an ID or the contract address to get the reference.
Got it.
So yeah, guys, you can use either, and you'll be fine. We can also do this, right? You can destructure it. And now, what we got back from this is just an array of promises, right? Because as you can see, I'm not awaiting for the get balance to be called, or to return whatever gets returned when you get when you run that promise. So when I return directly that, I'm getting a bunch of promises objects that I can then await from them all in one call. So the next thing I'm going to do, now that I have all those promises, I can do promise all setlet and passing the promises. And then I wait for those, for all of them to be completed. And finally, I can get that result. And maybe I'm just going to console log. You guys can see what the result of this. Call the get balances after that. Let's see what we got when we do that. Obviously, we're getting a lot of errors. And the reason for this is because we haven't handled the case of getting the viewing key required so we can get the balance, right? But as you can see at this point, we have made calls to the blockchain to get the balances for each of them. So now that we create the contract clients and that we're able to call the get balance method for each of them, we need to find a way to know if we have a viewing key for that contract. Now, viewing keys are, there isn't a specific way that you can, well, there are many ways that you can handle viewing keys. As part of Griptape has a very opinionated way of doing that by saving them on local storage. And we provide a set of APIs that help you um, adding and getting those viewing keys that you have that you can either create, calling a transaction on the contract itself manually, let's say, quote unquote, or doing it by either Kepler or whatever mechanism makes sense to create the viewing key. In this case, what we want to do is to let Kepler handle the creation of the viewing key, or do it through Kepler's API, and then have the ability to get those viewing keys and store them in the local storage. So there are some APIs that we have for that. We're going to introduce a new API called Kepler Viewing Key Manager. This, rather than being a function that you can call, is an object that you can use to interact with the viewing key or the viewing keys APIs. So maybe in the next streams, we're going to take a look at how the viewing key manager works. But basically, the Kepler viewing key manager is a subclass of the viewing key manager. So you might expect to have almost the same API signatures with a few slightly changes and some Kepler specific things that you need to take into consideration. For now, we're going to use a Kepler viewing key manager. And the way that it works is that we want to know first if we have a viewing key so we can call the get balance query on each of the tokens. So before I get the promises for all of the get balance queries for each token, what I want to do is to filter out those tokens that I have already a viewing key. So in this case, for each token, I'm going to call the Kepler viewing key manager get method, and I'm going to pass in the address again. Just to keep things simple, I'm going to leave it. Just to keep consistency. Let's structure this. And basically, the get method gets the viewing key, or returns the viewing key, or undefined in case that we don't have a viewing key on the local, let's say the local Griptape storage for viewing keys. So in case that we have a viewing key, then we're going to try and get the promise for the get balance query. In case we don't, we don't want to do anything, right? So if we run again the the application, you will see that we are not getting anything. Let me. I forgot to put. Oh no, where's the use effect? There you go. Because I was calling the use effect every time the render happened on the screen. So there you go. So you don't have we don't have any viewing key, and that's the reason we passed in an empty promises array. So that there's nothing to await for in this case on the get balances function. So now the next thing we want to do is maybe to show a button besides the each element of the list, so we can generate a viewing key so we can get the balance. So let's go ahead and go to our template. And if I have a viewing key, then if I don't have a viewing key, I want to show a button. If I have a viewing key, I want to show the balance. So let's do and viewing key manager. So in case that I don't have a viewing key, I want to show a button. It says show balance. And in case I do have, I'm going to show the balance there, which for now, kind of in the span with 3 dots there. And now for each button, I want to bind a click event so I can create a viewing key for each of them. Now I'm going to create a function called a viewing key. And this function will create a viewing key for each token. It will receive the token itself. And I'm going to use the Kepler viewing key manager object to add a new viewing key. So in order to add a new viewing key to the Kepler viewing key using the Kepler viewing key manager, it requires a contract. It receives a contract as argument. So we need to get the contract from the contract registry using the token address, and then after that I can pass in that contract to the add function of the Kepler viewing key manager object. And you'll need to await for that because the Kepler viewing key manager .add function returns a promise. So now I'm going to save that. And you'll see that I have all the balances, all the buttons for each of the tokens. One thing that you might wonder is why is the reason that if I already have all the tokens in my wallet, why I don't use those viewing keys to to show them here. Actually, the get function right now doesn't implement that feature yet, and this is something that we are looking forward to add in the next release. But right now we have every time you click on the, or well, you add using the, every time you add a viewing key using the add function of the Kepler viewing key manager, you'll get the that viewing key from Kepler. So in this case, it won't create a new viewing key. It will just add it to the Kepler viewing key manager. So in this case, I think it worked. Maybe the UI didn't refresh, but as you can see, every time I click on each of the show balance buttons, I get the new I get a new entry on the local Griptape viewing key storage. Now, if I refresh, I should be able to see the three dots for those, for all the tokens I already have a viewing key, and for those who are not, I need to continue adding those viewing keys. So let's fix the issue of the rendering. The issue here, I think,
Luis, your span here is just ... right?
Yep. Oh yeah. I'm not trying to show the
Oh,
balance
I
here.
see.
Yeah.
Just why isn't
I
it
was wondering.
refreshing?
Yeah, exactly. Let me see. Obviously, it's not re-rendering the tokens once I do that, because tokens. Yeah, because there's no state actually that will trigger that render. So I think, I mean, one way of solving it is to add some state to render, to determine if you have a viewing key for a particular token. Yep. So,
Yeah, Osama is saying you can set state and use effect.
Yeah, maybe a counter or something, and when a viewing key is created, just update the counter so the use effect is triggered again. That would.
Oh, as opposed to actually saving much in the state, you're going to just do something that gets to re-render, right? That's what you're saying.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But let me. Well, I don't know if this is going to work, but let me try. So let me. Let me create a state for to track, not to track viewing keys, but to track if there's a viewing key associated with a particular contract. So let me call this to Uh, hmm. Viewing keys right now. Repeat keys. Viewing keys. Is state, and let's start with an empty object. And when I get the balances, I think that's something separated from that. So it's a step prior to that. What's up, Sandy?
Oh, I'm just saying your get balance is right there in that map thing. At that point, you could set it, right? It's going to rerun that, when you...
Oh, yeah, but I don't want to, mix context here because we're doing something very specific. So I'm just going to say this init b keys and then tokens dot for each. Wonder if this is going to work. So bear with me, guys. And that address and how do I? Is there a way to like? I'll just do it, and you guys tell me if I'm doing something wrong. So, b keys item dot in this case. Symbol. And David, how do I is there a way to, like, for example, if I do this like that, does this get mutated every time I do that?
I'm not sure if you can like modify the value directly on the state. I guess you're not allowed to like mutate the value of a state directly as you did it.
Yeah, I don't think this is going to work.
You need to use set state, right?
Yeah, you need to use set state.
No, I'm doing it.
Yeah, but you are trying to mutate the value before that.
Directly, yeah, Luis. Instead of just making it equal to that value, you need to make it. You use the set state function or method or whatever.
Which set state?
So down here you have const viewing key equals get, and then you're setting viewing keys, and then you're making it and then your set viewing keys, that part where you do set VKs, right? Oh, you're saying you're using the set state. Oh, yeah. Shouldn't that be okay? These are
That's what I'm trying to see.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, cool. And this, in order for this to work, I need the on account available, right?
So someone is suggesting that instead of using for each, we should use map. There. Here, I'll show you the comment. Just get interactive.
Sure. I'm gonna read that in a minute.
Okay.
Okay. And unit viewing key. I need to do this either. This is fine. And the unaccount available here. Okay. So let me see.
I guess he's saying don't set the state 10 times. Every time you check, you're resetting the state, I guess.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Thanks,
Thank
Osama. You, Osama. So
well, as you can tell, like we're Vue guys mostly, and it's a lot easier to even with David helping. Luis still has to conceptualize it all.
Yep.
Yeah, he wants you to use a map, set an array, and then just set viewing keys on that array.
Yeah, why not creating a temporary variable where you like above tokens, create like a keys object and setting up all these object in the for each, and then finally just set the state at the end of the function.
I think the best or the most simple way to do this might be not even using a functional style thing, just and doing it that way.
Yep.
That should do the work, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Sorry.
One more item in your at the bottom. Go back to it. Yeah, item.symbol.
Should have this. Okay. Sorry. Well, I'm getting the viewing keys. Yeah, so essentially, I'm not trying to get anything from this. What I'm trying to get or populate is a map for that will have as a piece the symbols of the tokens, and as the values whether if they have a viewing key or not, right? So this is a result of that of this init viewing keys, and I'll set in the result to set viewing keys. Therefore, I think then I can, rather than do this, use the v keys object that I created to tell whether if they do or don't have a viewing key. So in this case, if I click on show balance, well, didn't work either. So that's why I was wondering that could have worked. Maybe it's the same because I'm not changing the set viewing keys every time that click happens. Then the render one gets triggered.
Yeah, so when you do the create viewing key, you should set it, right? That's that
Exactly.
wait Kepler manager add contract.
Exactly.
But the problem is you got to know that it actually gave you, that you actually succeeded, right? Well, that's not a problem. Never mind.
Well, yeah. For now, we're just keep things simple. So let's say that we need to add an entry to that object. So in this case, viewing keys of token dot symbol.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna set that to true, right?
Mhm.
And then again update the state.
Yep. That should
And
work.
that should do the trick. Okay. So sorry guys. I know we went.
So you clear cache. Actually, yeah, Luis, get rid of some of the viewing keys in Kepler as well, and that way you'll see the difference.
Yeah, I wanted for anyone to see. Let me remove blind. Jeez. So token list, we're going to
Garbage
remove
again.
plan B, girl, and blind. So 3 of them.
So now what would happen if you do that and you haven't, but you still have a viewing key in your state, in your local storage? Well, anyway, you can answer it later. For right now, okay, we have an empty local storage from viewing key perspective. Yeah.
Yeah. So if I add secret,
Oh, you need to connect the app, right? Because you deleted all the local storage.
yeah, but what happened with the bootstrap button? Oh. Okay, so we added the secret, but
Refresh.
refresh.
Oh, you need to add the viewing keys object or the variable and the use effect, right? In the array of the use effect,
Mm-hmm.
you need
In
to
the
add
array of the user.
you need to add a variable to be listened to right there. And in this case, it's viewing keys. But well, I would recommend creating another use effect that only has the get balances function. So that get balances is triggered every time the viewing keys object is changed. because right now it's gonna like the use effect is gonna be triggered every time beyond key subject is changed, but
Hmm,
that represents creating contracts again and all of that.
got it. Well, but in this case,
Really, we only want to get the balance of the one you just created, right? Whatever. I don't know.
What happened?
no. What I'm trying to do, David, right now is to being able to, when I click any of these things, just to calls or re-render, so all the render tokens are re-render.
Mhm.
This section basically. For that, I was thinking about
Oh, I see.
doing this, but apparently it didn't work. So
Oh, it's because you are iterating through the token subject, right? Or I don't know what's that, an array. So
mhm.
the tokens didn't change. Uh, so
So it's expecting this to change.
yeah, so that can be re-rendered. Yep.
Okay.
Um, yeah, it's expecting the tokens to change.
So it can re-render.
What would make the tokens change?
I mean, I can just do whatever, right? Well, do you mean to change in terms of the tokens array to maybe add a new entry or something like that, right,
Yeah,
David? That's what you mean to change?
yeah, exactly.
Mm. Okay,
Exactly.
that's weird. Let me think. So, is it a way? Is there a way to? Hmm. Well, I
Could you
was
add
thinking.
has viewing key to your tokens, Luis? And then make the change there as opposed to in your viewing keys? In your viewing key
Where
subject?
If a property of an object of that array changes, does that causes a re-render?
Yep, that causes a re-render. Exactly. Is tokens a state?
Got it, Osama. So basically, are we saying that we want to do like, um, well, uh, if I change this one, I don't think that will cause the re-render, because
No,
I think
no,
the
that
only way of doing it is by getting the tokens and then try to uh, find. Well, not. Oh, no.
now I think tokens are is a JSON import, right?
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Correct.
So okay, then that tokens is not a dynamic like
Okay, it's
array.
not.
Yeah, so
So
yeah,
do you mean
it's
that I converted to that I set it as that I
yeah,
create an state for that?
yeah,
That's what you're
exactly.
saying. Um,
Maybe call it tokens and just
Name the other one
rename the other one. Yeah.
as and do I initialize that circuit data or do I?
Yeah,
Um,
that's fine. I
How
think
do I?
just name it token data
Okay.
instead of
Yeah.
yeah.
Right. Oh, what I was doing there. Do I initialize here, or do I say tokens on the use effect?
Yeah, you can initialize that in the user state. Just I think the import is tokens data, and you set token data in the user state. Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yep, I think that makes sense.
Okay.
And then what you can do is in the create being key, you can do a set tokens before set being keys, and just like force it and set the same tokens that you set in the initialize. I think that would force the
It's not changing it. Yeah.
yeah that would force it.
I'll forward the re-render.
Yeah, I think that's gonna work.
Okay, let's see.
Oh,
New York.
Because you're not
I
actually
think-
changing it.
yeah, maybe that's yeah, because nothing changed. Maybe
mhm.
try to uh, how can we force it?
Before set tokens, you have to find that token in an array and then update in the token list.
What
Got it.
does
So
yeah
essentially, what you're saying, Osama, is that we take the token, take the current token that we are creating the viewing key for, update whatever we want to update for that, and then
Yeah. Just have it has viewing key. Add that property to your tokens.
mhm. Yeah,
Luis. Yeah.
have let's have another field in the tokens that is called has viewing key, and we just update that field here in the create viewing key.
Yeah.
so. Uh,
And then instead of doing vk's item.symbol, you would do token has viewing key or item.has viewing key, right?
does that um, well, this didn't work, but we're going to create a function for if token have a viewing key. Now, one question
But
that
I
I
don't think you
have
want to
is
set viewing keys there, Luis. I think you want to like reset the tokens, right? To say, okay, the token, right? Instead of that even having a viewing key state,
Yep.
just set a property on the token itself. So init viewing keys, you would just do set token, set tokens and then result.
but then here we don't need this.
You need to find, right? I think it is an array.
Well, it's an array. I can just add a new property here, right?
Oh yeah,
Yep.
cool.
So item has viewing key.
Cool.
Okay. And yeah, doing something similar in the create viewing key that would also cause the tokens to re-render.
Here is tokens. Well, I wonder if I can use this one. Hmm.
Hmm.
Or do I go ahead and find it?
Yeah. Do a map and validate if the address is the one that you are creating the viewing key for, and in that case, if the address is if the address you are iterating through, it's the same address that you are creating the viewing key, then return that it has viewing key to through, and that whatever that map returns, set that into the set tokens. Because tokens as such, I think that's not mutable. It's an immutable variable.
But okay, but the question I have is do I need to find it first so I can then modify it,
But
and after that I cause this? Does what I'm doing make sense? Do I need to find it, or can I use the one that I have here to?
I think what he's saying is use a map, and then in the map filter by the token address, and then change and then you're gonna update, and what you'll get back from the map will be the tokens, and then you can set tokens.
yeah, exactly.
Okay, that's kind of weird, but okay. So you say that I'm going to create a new set of tokens, and then these tokens, what I need to do is to return the token itself, but in case they have a viewing key.
No, if it's that token, your create viewing key, you pass in token, right?
If token dot address is equals to item dot address, do you guys say that I need to token item
Pass viewing key.
as viewing key equals true?
Yeah.
Is that true, or is has viewing key token dot or item dot address?
Just check it again.
Yep.
And then just get rid of set viewing VKs at the bottom underneath set tokens.
Yeah, let's try that. I think
I think before you have to do it though, I think you can't be looking for the viewing keys in the render.
Yeah. So this should be item dot has viewing key. Okay. And init with keys. I think this is fine. Keys VKS. No longer need that. Okay. So, okay. So this will add the viewing key to Kepler, create the viewing key. Okay, cool. Well, we did it. So,
Yeah, Luis, you don't need to understand React. Uh, just go. I don't know, like feel React. That's the way it is. It's kind of complicated sometimes.
yeah, I see. No, I mean, I kind of understand how it works, and I was while I was getting to this part, I was actually thinking about how to solve that particular problem. But it does make sense, it does make sense the way that you need to do it. It is just a little bit weird, um, the way you need to set up things to actually make that happen for these kinds of UI. And I was thinking about the way that we did it in Svelte, for example, or that you would do it in Vue, and for sure it's way simpler because you don't need to do this kind of mechanism. But it's I think it's interesting to understand it the way that, or is interesting the way that React is designed. But okay, um, I want to show the balances. So now that we have the application, now that we can create viewing keys, and also that if we call all those viewing keys, we can get the amounts, as you can see, for all the balances for all the SNP20s. Now we want to render that to each here it is, to the app. So well, the first thing that I'm going to do is to
You probably want to add the balance to the token as well, don't you? To get
Yeah.
it to re-render.
Yep, that's correct. So what I'm gonna do is, well, first we need to get the balances in a more easy way, right? So first of all, I'm going to filter them by if the promise was fulfilled or not. Then I want to.
At that point, wouldn't the result only give you ones that have been fulfilled, Luis?
No.
Okay, I'm wrong.
Then item, I'm gonna map them to get the value. Whoops. Value dot balance at amount, so I can get the amounts. And let's see how all the balances looks. Okay, so I can see all the balances, and now we're not going to handle this like very, how to say, properly, I would say, or at least not very. It won't be a robust solution, but right now the order in which you get the promises result is the same order as the promises, as when you get all the promises. So that will mean that we're getting the balances as the order of the tokens that we have. And we are going to take that into our advantage to actually set the balances for each token. So for each token, I need to do the same, right? To do a map again. And in this case, I will need to do item index, and then item return item dot balance. Well, balance equals to balances index. Um, and finally here,
To go be item, right? Item dot balance.
yeah. I wanted to item. Okay. And this is tokens. Okay. So then, before we move on, I think we want to format that using the coin convert and using the decimals for each token. So we can see all the balances, right? Maybe if it's going to make sense to put the symbol after. Okay.
And then we just want to add the image, right?
Yep. Want to add the image. So we have a set of images for well, whatever. So we're going to set, now that I have all the tokens, sorry guys for the internet connection here, and all the balances for each token, let's set, we have a set of images that you can use for each token. So I'm going to create a new folder that will have all the images. I'm going to paste that in there. So where are those? This here. Again, we will share the these icons or these images on the glossary page under the hackathon section on the docs. So the last part will be to add that image. So let me set the source for these images. In this case, how do I, David, dynamically, well, not dynamically, but how do I set the image for how do I access the image?
As far as I know, whenever you want to use an image in React, you need to import that image. Yeah.
Okay.
But there is a way of using Webpack, and you can dynamically import images as like setting the source in as a string. But yeah, you need to do that. I don't know if that's a default feature from React.
And how do I need to import it, like in each individual image?
Yeah. Yeah, in this case, yes, I think so.
And how that would work? Do I need to do some sort of like like that?
Yeah, like that. I think in each icon you need to do that.
Okay. Okay, guys. So hold on a second.
Look, I think there is another way of doing it. I just googled it. So try it out. I'll send that here in the private chat. I don't know if you can say it.
Yep.
Try that.
So let me try that. Oops. I think the only issue here is that, well, I don't know if I can dynamically set the path for these guys, but let me try. The worst case is that we need to hard code the path, which is fine too. Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, Osama is saying something in the chat.
So without the require, you're saying Osama. So path is so essentially what I wonder, let me see something quickly. Oh shit. I'm gonna move this to here. And refresh. Okay, there we go. Oh, okay, got it. Got it, Sama. I think for now we're just going to build it as public assets and let the same server to dispose those assets on the public folder. But okay, so basically you need to append the source folder to get access to that file.
So
Thank
Luis,
you,
I think
Osama.
maybe just inline style them, give them a border radius, and then we should be fine. We're already 15 minutes over.
Okay.
Well, obviously, we wanted to get a little bit farther. I think maybe what we'll do, Luis, what do you think? Is we can either try and make up time next time, or we could try and like backfill the code for to get us started further along, and then just go over it at the beginning next time.
Yep. I think we can talk about that offline, but yep.
Okay.
And finally, let's just inline style this, guys. Should be it. So tools.
Yes, expecting an object in the style property.
So you can't just
okay.
pass in a string, a literal. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. I like that, right?
Yeah, I don't know if 40 should be string or.
I think this. Even smaller, I think.
Yeah, 20 and then.
Or maybe like 24. Yeah, we can sell to these guys, but I think that's pretty much some extra stuff that we need to do. But yeah, as you can see, guys, we were able to um, get all the tokens, generate contract clients for them, checking if we have billing keys for them or not, to either show the balance or to prompt it to user to do it. Once you have the viewing key, call the get balance query of the SNP20 contract, and then show it that to user. So essentially, that's what we did. I think this component will be used. I don't know how we wanted to do it. Maybe you want to put a layout on the whole page to start having a more, app looking thing. But yeah, I think this is one of the first functionalities you want to add to your application, because you want, exactly the amounts of of, um, of balance of each token that you have, and then we can start working on the auction page, and on the create auction page to start using these tokens to um, on the auctions.
Yeah, so this puts us in a place to have a like a wallet on the, or like a web looking list of all of our tokens with the balances, and then as we go forward, for every auction, you're going to have 2 of these, and we can show your balance right next to it, and we'll just have access to that because it's the same get balance from this, from the same contract registry.
Yep.
Yeah. Cool. Okay, we're gonna stop now. I mean, I think that the goal of this tutorial session was really for us to do this live to sort of give an example of how we would solve problems. Obviously, we spent a lot of time working on React specific problems that we ran into, but I think that yeah. Anyway, I think we'll get much further in the next session. Let's put it that way. And also, we're going to be working on this in Vue tomorrow. And then Luis and I have also done this already, this part up to this point in Svelte already. And we're going to keep moving forward with that app as well. So, yeah, I don't know. Is there anything else, Luis?
Not really. I think we have showed the guys how to use the new APIs. Well, some new APIs, and I think they will be able to work either on this particular component or whatever they're working using these new APIs and implement them. So I think that's pretty much it. And it's all from my end. So
okay. Thanks everyone for watching. We'll see you next week here, and then join us tomorrow and look for evenings. We'll be doing Svelte stuff. So, okay, thank you.